Hey everybody, Eric Carney here with Philippe J. Fournier for this week's episode of The Numbers. It's icy and cold here in central Canada, but things are spicy and hot on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. Philippe, how are you doing today?
What a week, huh? I'm doing very well, Eric. Thank you very much. Very busy, but it's quieter when there's no Quebec poll, and we had plenty of stuff federally to discuss this week. It's the Liberals will get their majority. They will.
Seems that way.
It seems that way. I mean, again, a majority of one seat, I've said this for weeks, is not that safe. And it should be, I think many journalists and columnists should be very careful when they say, oh, finally get a majority. It's not that safe a majority, but it could get safer in the next weeks and months with the by-elections that are coming. So, Eric, is this where we should start today?
Oh, yeah. It was a bit of a surprise. So on Tuesday night, pretty late, and we got the news from Don Davies, the interim leader of the NDP, interestingly, that Lori Idlout, the MP for Nunavut, and she was first elected in 2021, so she's in her second term for the New Democrats, has decided to cross the floor to the Liberals. So this is now the fourth floor crosser that has gone from the opposition to the government. 3 of them were Conservatives. Now we have 1 New Democrat that has also done it. This is not a shocking one, because even in January, people were asking her about it, and she said, I'm not crossing the floor, and I think the quote was, at this point. So clearly she was
wasn't.
Considering
at
it.
that point, she wasn't, yep.
Yeah. I mean, she says it's primarily to try to get deliver things for her riding. Obviously, Nunavut is a bit of a special case where, it does actually require lots of support from the federal government, and whatever investments the feds do in Nunavut has a bigger impact than it does in, say, Markham or Edmonton. So it comes at a time when things are going pretty rough for the NDP. She was only a few days out from having attended an Avi Lewis event and seemingly endorsing him, although it didn't seem too full-throated, we'll say it that way. And it just means that the Liberals are now 1 seat closer to that majority. They're now at 170. And there's 3 by-elections, and the by-elections were set on Sunday, so since our last episode.
Yeah.
How much has changed, do you think, in just these last few days?
Well, okay, so we do the simple math. So the 3 by-elections will cover for 3 vacancies. 2 of them, University Rosedale and Scarborough Southwest, Liberals will win. Like, there's... I don't want to, I don't think I'm saying anything shocking here, but considering that they won with fair margins last year, and the Liberals are doing very well right now in the polls, the Liberals will hold on to these 2, so that's 172. There you go.
Philippe,
that's your majority.
People didn't think the Conservatives were going to win in Toronto St. Paul's last in 2024.
It was not impossible. It was not impossible. I mean, we had the numbers that showed it would be close, and that was the reason. That was the reason we did, you and I, this now infamous live stream that lasted until 3 a.m. or something. Because just on that topic, if there wasn't the Terrebonne by-election, would you and I do a live stream on University Rosedale and Scarborough Southwest? I think there would be discussions. Like, it would be like, okay, it's 9:30 p.m. This is over.
Yeah.
The reason we're going to stay late is because of Terrebonne, and Terrebonne obviously was decided by 1 vote, was annulled by the Supreme Court. There's a huge story there. Liberals really want it. The Bloc wants it so badly. So there will be a storyline there. But the majority is right there, 172. But you need a cushion, otherwise it's not a safe majority. And so that cushion comes in Terrebonne and perhaps in Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. So I wonder how this messaging will work now, that the Liberals should get a majority. Will the Bloc Québécois in Terrebonne just say, Carney has his majority now, you don't need Terrebonne, so you can safely vote for the Bloc Québécois. You know they'll try this. It's not, and it's pretty smart too. So I think that's what changed. It's just that, again, those 4 floor crossers. Now that's 4 floor crossers in 4 months.
Yeah,
that's rare. That's really rare.
Yeah. I looked at it. You have to go back to 2013 to find 4 floor crossers before these past 4. Like, to get to 8 floor crossers, you got to go back to 2013. And most of them, and half of them have happened in the last few months. Yeah. And for it to be from 2 different parties.
Yeah.
like I was trying to find a precedent for it, and I think the only precedent that I could find federally was in 1917.
That's okay. 100 years ago, yeah. Okay.
The conscription crisis when a lot of liberals who supported conscription went over to the board and government, served as unionists. There was a group of MPs who moved across from the opposition to the government side. That was a bit of a special time. That was a bit of a crisis.
I would say so.
In the middle of the First World War, when things were going pretty badly. So, like, the fact that this is not just a normal thing that has happened, like, there's an election and then some people cross the floor. This is unusual. This does not happen. And the majority thing, though, is interesting because, so we say that, just so people know, University of Rosedale, the Liberals won by 40 points. Scarborough Southwest, they won by 30 points. The polls are looking good for the Liberals in Ontario, so there's no reason to believe that the Conservatives should be able to get anywhere close to it. Because I mentioned Toronto St. Paul's because I was listening to one of the pundit panels and someone was saying, oh, no one thought, the Conservatives are going to win in Toronto St. Paul's. Like,
that's not true.
We thought that it was possible. It was still a surprise they pulled it off, but it was more like, it could be 5 points, not 30, 40 points. So that gets them to 172, which is the technical majority.
That's right.
Terrebonne gets them to 173, which is actually a real majority.
Yeah.
Because if it gets to 172, the government benches would have 171 votes. The opposition would have 171 votes. The Speaker would break the tie for the 172nd vote. But the Speaker would likely not do something like vote to change the committees. Right now, the Conservatives and the Bloc Québécois, they have the majority on committees. If they get to 173, that means the Speaker no longer has to break the tie, and then they could actually change the committee makeup. So the Terrebonne extra seat, like you said, it's not just it's a cushion, but it's not just like, gravy. It actually will have a significance on the House of Commons. So that is really technical as a message. The Bloc's not going to be like, keep our majority on committees, like get out in big numbers, folks. But it will matter if they can pull off Terrebonne. And I don't know, everybody seems to be all over the place. I asked you on Les Chiffres and you were squirming. You were uncomfortable. I was prediction.
Yeah. Because 5 weeks is now 4 weeks. It's kind of a long time, and you and I, despite what many people think online, you and I are not in the prediction business, right?
No, we're in the vibes business.
Well, predictions are fun, but it's not really what I do. I mean, or you do, right? Here's the thing. I think I said en français in our French episode that the natural, it's like a seat in Alberta, like the natural, the fit would be, okay, the Conservative, the Bloc should win Terrebonne. If they don't win Terrebonne, that's a huge story. If they win back Terrebonne, it's like, okay, return to normal. But looking at the numbers in Quebec, especially the most recent numbers, and we had the Léger poll last week that had a 23-point lead for the Liberals in Quebec. If the Liberals don't win Terrebonne next month, will they ever win it again? I mean, it's never going to get any better than this. So I think that's why it's so fascinating. But by-elections are local products. So it's not a national campaign. I think if we had a general election right now, I think my call would be, the Liberals are favored in Terrebonne. A by-election, I don't know. So that was the reason. But that cushion matters. And thing is, Rosemont La Petite Patrie will become available, we think, a month later. So there's going to be a new by-election, probably before June, you would think. And I think you and I discussed this when we thought those by-elections would have happened at the same time. Rosemont La Petite Patrie, the Liberals have a better shot of winning this than Terrebonne, I think. So that would be 174. Anyway, so it's so interesting.
It does seem like that is going to happen because apparently yesterday, on Wednesday, the NDP caucus all got into a single taxi and went to go do a media scrum. But there was only 5 of them there. Alexandre Bouleris did not really comment to the media because everyone was going to ask him about his pending resignation, I guess. But that did seem to me that he's still very much thinking about it. And I think I saw that the nomination period for Gouin is set for starting in March 25th. So I think that'll be on the Bouleris resignation watch. And they could call the by-election soon. But they could also just ride that vacancy, right? Because the extra vacancy provides one less opposition vote, which is almost as good as having a government member there in terms of the math. So that'll be something to watch.
Eric, why would you wait? The numbers are amazing in Quebec.
Yeah, I guess so.
For the Liberals, I mean, if they wait, it's going to get better in the fall.
But if it's vacant, it's a certain vacancy. It's a certain non-opposition vote, right?
But I'm pretty sure that going to the speaker says we want to change the ratio of committees. He will say, okay, well, the House is not full right now. There are vacancies. Right? I mean, you cannot just decide to change the ratio of committee. I say committees. Committees.
Well, sometimes it is a comedy.
Oh, ça c'est l'accent. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no.
Committees. Well, you know what I mean?
I guess so. I mean, I'm not sure how neutral the speaker will be on that kind of thing or by the book, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Before we move to some of the numbers related to this, what does this mean for the NDP? It seems like it's not like she's been an NDP MP now for 2 terms, and it's the North where at the territorial level there isn't parties in Nunavut, so there is a bit more of it's more about probably the name than the party in the North, and she's not it's not like she's like a Jenny Kwan or a Don Davies who's been with the party for decades or whatever, but it still is a pretty big blow for the NDP in the midst of a leadership race.
In the midst of a leadership race, and Byelections is in the same equation. They could lose 2 of 7 MPs in a single month. The numbers are not looking good. This leadership race, even though there seems to be, we'll discuss it a bit later, there seems to be a clear favorite for months now. There would be a huge surprise, I think, if Monsieur Lewis doesn't come out on top on this. And yet the numbers have not improved, and he's losing MPs. And that joke that Don Davies said at the the press gallery dinner, how about, hey, Monsieur Poilievre, my caucus is maybe small, but it's not shrinking. It is now. And so what does it mean? Are there NDP seats that are safe? Because Nunavut was not safe. The margin in Nunavut, of course, there are fewer voters over there, but it was 35? Yeah, it was 28 votes or something in Nunavut. So
I think it was like 70 something.
Do I have the math wrong here? Yeah, you're right. It's like 70. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that means you only need to swing about 35, 40 votes to win the seat.
So it's very small, and I think that's another thing that I find interesting. I want to go back to the NDP here, but so Edmonton-River-Bend, Acadie-Annapolis, Unionville, Markenville, whatever.
Markham, yeah, that's what Mark Carney
I know, right? But in Nunavut, all these 4 seats, if there was a general election right now, would lean Liberal.
Yeah,
would have a really good shot.
Regardless of the floor crosser, yeah.
Those were really close seats. So it's not like if a seat like in Prince George, Peace River or something, the MP would go to the Liberals, where he won by a 70-point margin with the Conservatives. These were all very closely contested battles. So that's why I find it so interesting that a lot of people in these ridings voted Liberal to a loss in the election. Mm-hmm. If there was a general election today, they would be probably re-elected. But what does it mean to the NDP? I wonder how many will be left by year's end. Because the leadership race will have repercussions. And so far, it's very hard to be an optimist on what's going on with the NDP. Perhaps Monsieur Lewis will find a way and turn this around, but 5% in that last legislature. We discussed it last week. It's pretty bad. What about you, Eric? What do you think what does it think it does to the NDP?
Well, it's a party that is desperately in need of rebuilding, of getting some positive press, and just kind of starting to get some momentum going, so they can at least have a shot of coming back to some extent in the next election. So this seems to me extremely deflating for the party. If they're at 7 MPs, now they're down to 6. If Byelections goes, they're down to 5. The remaining 5 seem pretty solid. It would be kind of surprising if any of them cross. But Lewis is of a particular wing of the party. He's going up against another MP who is from a different wing of the party. Will Heather McPherson how comfortable will she be in a caucus led by a leader who is really not very friendly to the oil and gas industry in Alberta. There is a provincial election coming in Alberta not too long. Maybe Heather McPherson might better like her chances there. There does seem to be the potential for this to be a snowballing effect that continues to hurt the NDP. So I do think it is a very damaging one. As I said, I feel like it's unlikely they lose another floor crosser, but Bouleris leaving is going to just be another bit of this drumbeat. It's rough times for the New Democrats. And as we saw in the last election, when you're not really in the contention in this polarized environment, if you really don't look like you're anywhere close to being a winner, then I feel like a 5% might become much more common than the 9 or 10 that we've seen in lots of recent polls.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the numbers on floor crossers?
Sure. So go ahead.
So the Angus Reid Institute had this poll. It was fielded in February, so before the news of of Madame Idlout crossing the floor. They just asked, suppose the Liberals were able to attain a majority partially through floor crossing, would this be a good thing or a bad thing? And obviously, it was very polarized, but 43% said a good thing. It brings a stable government. 39% said it's a bad thing because Canadians did not elect a majority government last year. Both sides, I think, can be defended and argued. It's just so interesting that obviously there's a huge partisan split. And the other numbers that was interesting is that, okay, so should floor crossing be allowed? There's an argument that is proposed, and I think the NDP has been very strong on this for many years, is that if an MP wants to cross the floor, they first have to resign, and they show up in a by-election, they run a by-election, and then they can sit with their new party. That's not how our system works, but you can change
you could
rules.
change it. Yeah, you could change it.
You could change it
to make it that way.
I would argue with these people that, so the person can just become an independent. But again, with committees, it would matter a lot. But so the Angus Reid Institute did ask the same questions in 2018 after Madame Alislev crossed the floor from the Liberals to the Conservatives. We remember Andrew Scheer being all smiles and all happy, saying that it was a change of momentum, a sign that the Trudeau years were about to come to an end. And back then, 57% in 2018, 57% of Conservatives thought that, floor crossing should be allowed. Today, same question, different context, 14% of Conservatives say it should be allowed. For the Liberals, back then, in 2018, it was 38% of Liberals who said it should be allowed. Today, 69%. And drumroll here for the NDP. Obviously, the sample is smaller, but it's still interesting to swing. In 2018, 37% of NDPers thought the floor crossing should be allowed. And in 2026, it was 68%. Now, it would be interesting for the Angus Reid Institute to redo these numbers with Madame Idlout crossing the floor from the NDP to the Liberals to see if they change their minds on this. But it's like a lot of people are partisans, and if your team does it, it's okay, and if the other team doesn't do it, if the other team does it, now and it's outrageous.
Yeah,
I find this fascinating.
I know, and that's why I always kind of roll my eyes at a lot of the outrage about floor crossing, because it tends to just follow. If it was your team, you that lost someone, you don't like it. If your team gained one, you like it. And I mean, at the same time, we always kind of applaud and celebrate MPs when they break party lines and they vote according to how they think that their constituents want them to vote. But if they just pick up a different colored banner, then suddenly it's a problem. I don't really see what the difference is. If you become an independent, people didn't vote for an independent, so nope. I'm not sure why that is more acceptable than crossing to a different party. If you end up just voting with the other party anyway, what difference does it make? But it is interesting to see this big swing because it's so predictable. It's just how it is. And as I've said before, there's really no evidence based on past elections. We're going to have a big case study in the next election.
Yeah.
But in past elections, there's really no evidence that floor crossing ends up hurting the floor crosser. They usually get reelected, and they usually get more of the vote than they did when they were with their other party. So, Yeah. That's a debate for another day, perhaps.
I just, if I may, just insert one last thing on this. And it's not like just a personal opinion. It's just that in our system, we vote for people. We vote for a person. We don't vote for a party. We could change the system and vote for a party, but that's a problem. That brings other problems, right? You vote for an organization and not the person. That organization is led by people who were unelected. They were chosen by the party. Right now, we vote for, you put your X next to the name of a person. That person can then do things for 4 years, even stuff you don't like. So if the NDP wants to change the system eventually in an NDP government,
which they do.
Yeah, they do. But I mean, so would we not vote for people anymore? We would vote for an organization, for a color, for a brand. I'm not sure. It would change how the whole system works, and I'm not sure if it's for the better. But okay.
You're opening an electoral reform debate. You're going to get it today.
Let's get to the polls. We have new polls this week, my friend.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, as you say in French, cela explique ceci, or
ceci explique cela. Yes, exactly. Yes.
Your
French is excellent, by the way, regardless of what people say online. Your French is excellent.
Very nice. let's air out the laundry here for everybody.
Yeah.
The polls kind of are one indication of why there is floor crossing taking place to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can, if you want to be non-cynical, you could say that, the increase in support for the governing party suggests that their constituents in their riding want them to join the governing party, and that's why they're doing it. If you want to be cynical, you can say that they're looking at the polls and wondering about the re-election chances. And lately, being on the opposition benches does not suggest your chances are that good. So we had 4 national polls that were put out over the last little while. We got ones from Liaison. Spark put one out. Polera had some crosstabs that were in their release about, the Carney kind of perceptions. And Nanos, of course. And they're pretty kind of unanimous. You got a 13 to 15 point lead in all 4 of these polls. 44, 46, 47, 46 for the Liberals in the 4 polls, 30, 31, 34, 33 for the Conservatives, 9-10, 9-10 for the NDP.
Yeah.
These are huge leads, 200 plus seats, and, if you're on the opposition benches, maybe you want to be one of those 200 seats, I guess.
Okay, I'll say this because when I updated my projection on Sunday, as I always do on Sundays, my average for the Liberals was 201. I was like, okay, that's a lot, but we had like a year and a half with the Conservatives in the 200 seat range in the in the projections, right? But there's like, has that happened with the Liberals? And I guess maybe it did, but it was before my tracker began in 2018 or 2017 rather. The highest I ever had the Liberals was during that pandemic bump in the summer of 2020. I had them at 199. That's the highest I've ever had the Liberals. Now it's 201. So we understand that this is temporary. It's just that it could be weeks, but it also could be many months. And those floor crossers, as we said a few minutes ago, would probably win as Liberals if an election was held today with these numbers. The Nanos tracker, we know it lags because it's a 4-week tracker. It's still remarkable how completely fast it crossed, right? 4 weeks ago, we had a statistical tie. And then that means that you have 4 consecutive weeks of the Liberals jumping to a bigger and bigger lead until now it's 46-33 in the Nanos tracker. And the preferred prime minister, we talk about this tracker because maybe the absolute numbers are questionable, but the trends follow what we've seen from other pollsters. It was 20-point lead at some point. It was 25-point lead at some point. Now it's 35-point lead. So it's 57 for Mr. Carney, who pulls support from the other parties, and only 22 for Poilievre, which means he doesn't get all the Conservatives in there. I think that's remarkable. And the question now is, how long can this last? It's but right now you would have the itch to call an election if you're the Liberals, but we know how risky that would be.
Yeah, and also, if you end up getting the majority in the House through by-elections and floor crossers, what's the rationale for a new election? You want to just have an extra year in power? Because, like, if the argument becomes we need the stability in the House, we need a new mandate to negotiate Kuzma or something like that. A lot of people would be like, well, you have a majority. You got it. Just go. So I do think that it does remove that rationale. The
Big
best
time.
PM numbers, I did look at it. So Nanos has been doing this tracking poll now for 12 years.
Yeah.
So their chart goes all the way back to, it might even be 13 years, goes all the way back to when Justin Trudeau first became leader of the Liberals. He, as far as I can tell, this is the highest number for anybody in that tracker over that time.
That's remarkable.
Even in the post 2015 honeymoon that Justin Trudeau had, he got very close to what Carney just put up, but didn't get that high. So this is 57%. Seems to be the highest it's been in this tracker since it's begun. I mean, you could probably go back to like Chrétien Martin probably got in the 50s when the right was split and all that kind of stuff. But this is a big number, and that 35-point gap is the biggest since the Trudeau honeymoon when the Conservatives didn't have a permanent leader. So in like the 2016 period. So yeah, regardless of the specific numbers, the trend is remarkable considering that you have to go back that far to find these kinds of numbers. And that raises this question. If the Liberals are now just a few weeks away from getting a majority, what does that mean for Pierre Poilievre if now he is going to be an opposition leader for potentially at least 3.5 years?
It's not all bad, right, for Monsieur Poilievre. Now, you will have to manage the caucus, but the thing is, Monsieur Poilievre himself, he needs time. Like, if there was an election again today, he would lose, and that would be it for his career. So the fact that the Liberals are right now dominating in the polls and could get a 1 or 2 seat majority soon gives Monsieur Poilievre time. It's just we wonder if the Conservative caucus will let him.
That's it. They also have time, too.
Yeah. That's true.
And I don't know. Like, I think that's a big challenge for him now, right? Because if the argument was, well, we're only 6 to 8 months from an election at a given time, which I guess technically is still there. Now it's more like, well, okay, what if it is 3.5 years before the next election? That starts to get a bit more a tougher pitch if he's maintaining these kinds of numbers. Because look, these 4 polls that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Support for the Conservatives between 30 and 34%. That matches Harper in 2015, O'Toole in 2021, and Scheer in 2019.
That's generic Conservative.
Yeah, it is. Is that what, that's not what the Conservatives are aspiring to, just to have a generic Conservative who does as better as good as anybody could in an election where they don't win. Like he needs, like, not that like it matters if there's not an election soon, but he needs these numbers to get better to plunk it down and say, look, I can still compete, because right now he's not.
He really isn't. But okay, so we'll stick with the numbers, but there isn't like a contender trying to push Poilievre out like it was the case with Mr. Scheer, and it was the case with Mr. O'Toole, even though we didn't know much at the time. But there doesn't seem to be a movement to push Monsieur Poilievre out. We know that these numbers, if they last for many months, even years, let's say, I would doubt it lasts years, but many months, every day will erode their confidence. But if they're patient, that's interesting. By the way, you are correct about this. I just pulled the Nanos tracker. On August 19, 2016, that's almost a decade ago, right? Yeah. Justin Trudeau was at 56, and there was no permanent leader for the Conservatives. I guess it was Madame Ambrose. She had 16, and so it was a 40-point lead for the Liberal leader. But there was not a permanent leader. And as soon as there was a permanent leader, the gap really closed. So 57 would be a record since the tracker started. And the tracker started in, I have it here. It's August 14. So, it will be 12 years. The fact that Monsieur Poilievre is down to 22, I think, is a bigger story than the fact that Monsieur Carney is at 57, though. Poilievre doesn't even get the Conservative number. That for me, it sounds wrong. It sounds like it cannot be sustained, but we'll see.
Yeah. Just before we move on, there was also an abacus. We talked a little bit about the provincial polling that came out in our last episode, but they now put out their federal numbers in Alberta. We've talked a lot about Alberta, and this is now one that has numbers from the cities and the regions of Alberta, so we get a bit more of a portrait.
Yeah.
Pretty similar, pretty kind of like close to the average, I'd say right now. The abacus has 51% for the Conservatives in Alberta, 36% for the Liberals, 7% for the NDP. But there's been big swings because, first of all, that's a 15-point gap. It was 36 points in the last election, so that's already a big swing. And you can see that the gains have come pretty much across Alberta, but that could have a big impact in seats in Edmonton and Calgary.
Across Alberta, but the Liberals would not be targeting in the regions of Alberta. They would target city seats in Calgary and in Edmonton. And in that poll, Abacus, and again, this was a Alberta-only poll, a big sample just of Alberta, so we can have regions. In Edmonton, the Liberals lead by 7, and the Conservatives won the popular vote in Edmonton by 12 points. So that's a 19-point swing in favor of the Liberals.
That's a lot of seats.
That's a lot of seats. That's basically, I don't want to say it's a sweep of Edmonton. 7 points is not enough for a sweep, but the federal map would look closely to the provincial map, but switch orange for red. And in Calgary, Abacus had 49 Conservative, 39 Liberal. So that's a 10-point lead for the Conservatives. It was 21 points for the Conservatives. So the swing is not as big. Yeah. It's still significant, though.
Yeah, still enough for a few seats, not to all of the seats
or
anything like that. Yeah. And in the rest of the... I still find this interesting, even though it probably has 0 seat impacts. In the rest of Alberta, the Liberals are at 26%.
I know, right?
61 for the Conservatives. They had 28% across Alberta, and that included Calgary and Edmonton. So it's like, can you imagine just a few years ago saying, go walk out into rural Alberta, talk to the voters there, 1 in 4 will be a Liberal. I would not have said that was likely to happen.
No.
But yeah, it won't have any seat impacts. They're not anywhere close to any of them. I mean, maybe Lethbridge, but...
it's too. The margin was too big.
Yeah. But anyway, so it was good to have this kind of deep dive into Alberta.
Yeah.
And I suspect we're going to continue to have some because people are pretty interested by it.
Well, although there could be a provincial election.
Lots of reasons to poll.
All right.
We finally got some more numbers from the NDP leadership race. We'll go over this pretty quickly because nothing's really changed. So these are from the first interim campaign returns. You have to do that when you're, I think, 3 or 4 weeks out from the election day in a leadership race. So it has fundraising up to about mid-February. So it's an update from the previous set of numbers, which went up to the end of December. Avi Lewis is raising the most money. He's got over $1.2 million raised. This is more than Jagmeet Singh raised in 2017. So unless there was huge fundraising in the 80s or the early aughts when this reporting wasn't the same, this is likely the most that a leadership candidate has raised for the NDP.
Okay, yeah. Wow.
Put it in context, though. Carney raised almost $5 million. Poilievre raised almost $10 million in their leadership races. But McPherson was second with $560,000. So
not even half.
He's got a 2-to-1 advantage over her. And Rob Ashton was at $360,000. Tony McQuail was a little over $100,000. And as far as I could tell, Tanil Johnson, her numbers weren't up the last time I looked. But yeah, this is.
So Lewis has raised more money than all the others combined.
It seems that way,
If my math is correct here, yeah.
We have to see Johnston's numbers, but it seems likely that he is over 50% of all fundraising.
Wow.
So, first ballot?
It would be surprising if it wasn't, right?
A bit. Unless it's like 47% or something like that.
Yeah, right. But I mean, right now, Monsieur Lewis losing would be a huge shock. And it would break with, I don't want to say convention, but it would break the trends. And you talked about this before on this podcast. You did your research for the writ that usually when you have a big lead in the money, you win a leadership race. So it would just break with the trends.
Yeah, and it doesn't just mean that he's getting lots of big donors or something like that. He also has the most donors, and so he's beating the other candidates on that front. And it's not, I don't know why. It's not like the money buys the votes or something like that, but just historically, it's remarkable how close fundraising has been to leadership race results, especially when it's a race like this one where it's not weighted by region or anything. Like if Lewis, it doesn't, like McPherson raised, I think about half of all of her money in Edmonton. Like just in Edmonton. She raised a lot of her money in Alberta. Yeah, it is. And there's lots of members there. So she will have a strong result, but Lewis has raised tons of money in Ontario, BC. He actually has done okay in Quebec. So yeah, we're gonna have the results in a little over 2 weeks. Both of us are going to be in Winnipeg to see it. Yeah, I'm kind of expecting a first ballot win. This looks a lot like the 2017 race. But we'll see. We can't make a full-on prediction just yet.
We're not making a prediction. We're not making a prediction, but we're not stupid either. We see the numbers and we know who's the favorite. So that's very interesting. All
right, I think we're going to jump right to the quiz.
Drum roll. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Apologies
for popular demand.
I know people wanted the quiz, and so the quiz is back. Again, the thing is, this takes a lot of work because I cannot just give easy trivia to Eric. Eric is a master at this. And so when I make a quiz, I have to do a little research. And of course, I do things for many reasons. One is fun. So that's the first reason. Second, I get to learn a lot of things. I did not study politics and Canadian history in my studies. I'm new to this, but Eric is not. And as those who listen to this podcast on a regular basis, you know that Eric crushes a lot of my quizzes. So I did not reinvent the wheel here, my friend. It's a format we have done many times, but there's so many places to go here. So it's Guess Who That Is, with 3 clues per person. So for those who are not familiar with that, I will give Eric a clue about a Canadian political figure. If he gets it, he gets 3 points. If he doesn't get it, I give him a second clue. And if he gets it, he gets 2 points. If he doesn't get it, I give him a third and last clue. And if he gets it, he gets 1 point. There are 4 people in there, so a maximum of 12 points. There's a little twist, not a twist, a theme, I say. All of these people were born in the 1800s. Not that they had their political life necessarily in the 1800s, but they were born in the 1800s. And so I think this could be quite hard. So I will put gold at 8. So if you get all the names on the second clue, you get gold. 7 is silver, 6 is bronze, and below 6, you know, my friend,
shame.
It's shame. Okay. Are you ready, my friend?
I am ready. I've been waiting for this.
All right. Let's go. Eric, first clue. This person was born in 1894 in Guelph, Ontario. I'm kidding. He served with distinction in World War I as an officer in the Canadian Field Artillery. This person entered politics at the municipal level, first getting elected as the mayor of Guelph.
Okay.
That's the first
1894. So he's in the First World War. So probably 40 or 50 by the time he gets into politics. So that puts him in the 30s or the 40s. And artillery. The Premier of Ontario, George Drew, they called him, I think, Colonel or something, because I think he was an officer. I don't know if he was in the artillery, but I'm going to guess it was George Drew.
And it was George H. Drew. I can't even give my... This is why the quiz hasn't been back in... I'm just going to give the clues for fun. Sorry for those who wanted to play along. Eric just spoiled your fun here. This person ran for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Ontario at the 1936 Conservative Leadership Convention. He lost to William Earl Rowe. He ran again for the Conservative leadership in 1938, this time successfully, and entered the Legislative Assembly of Ontario via a by-election as an MPP for Simcoe East. This was the second clue. And the third clue, the gimme, this person became Premier of Ontario in 1943 Ontario election, winning a minority government with a strong CCF opposition. So George A. Drew, you get 3 points.
The 43
Okay.
election in Ontario is interesting because so the
was
CCF
close.
won
Yeah.
in Saskatchewan in 1944. There were polls that done at the time that said like the CCF could have formed government in Ontario in 1943. So like the first socialist or social democratic government in
Yep.
North America could have ended up being in Ontario very easily.
That's very, and the results were really close. I don't have them in front of me, but yeah,
It's like
so
a,
it was a
a
minor.
handful of seats,
Yep,
between the two of them.
exactly. Okay, so all right, I think let's go a little harder here. Second person, first clue. This person, my friend, was born in 1869 in Winchester, England, and emigrated to Canada in 1896. He found work in the oil fields near Sarnia, Ontario, before moving west to run a farm.
That rings a bell. Okay, and 1869, and so talking about in the early, probably in the tens. And you said Alberta. He moved to Alberta.
No, I said before moving west to run a farm.
Run a farm.
I mean, Alberta would count, but I said the west.
Yeah. Was it? What was his name?
What was his name? Yeah. That guy.
Oh God. Was it Scott? Who's the premier of Saskatchewan?
It was not.
Okay.
Okay, so your free guess. Second clue. This person entered public life on a local level soon after moving to his new farm. This person was elected to the local school board and later as president of the Westlock Agricultural Society. Provincially, this person was originally a liberal, but along with many other farmers, began to grow dissatisfied with the liberal government's treatment of farmers.
Westlock has to be Alberta.
Absolutely is.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like maybe we're talking about a one of the farmer premiers. I don't think it's Brownlee. I don't think he was a farmer, or was he? Anyway, I'll say it was John Brownlee.
It was not. Oh, sorry. Third clue. After the 1921 Alberta election, in which the incumbent Liberals were defeated by the United Farmers, he was selected as leader of the UFA and became the fourth premier of Alberta.
Oh, yeah. His last name was Reid?
Is that your guess?
Like Riley Reid, is that it?
I'm sorry, my friend. It was not.
Who am I thinking of? Who was it?
Herbert
Greenfield.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you get zero.
Reid.
on this.
I think Reid replaced Brownlee. Maybe. Anyway. Darn
I,
it. Okay.
I dug down. I mean, I did not know Herbert Greenfield. Again, it's not my field, but very interesting life story.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He was replaced by Brownlee eventually. But anyway. Oh, okay.
Okay, so you're 3 after 2. So you're trailing the gold count here. So okay, third person, my friend.
I can get the next. If I get the next on the
Yep.
first and the second, I'll be good.
That's right. This person was born in Terrebonne, Lower Canada, in 1840.
Oh boy.
And was elected to the Legislative Assembly of Quebec as a Conservative in 1875 as MLA for Montréal-Est.
That's it? Okay. 1875, a Quebec Conservative. What are you doing to me here?
Hey, you asked for the quiz, man.
All right,
Yep.
so it's going to be one of those premiers in that time.
Maybe.
There was like 10 of them. They're all okay. Terrebonne, I'm going to guess it was Joseph Adolphe Chapleau.
It was not. Second clue. This person knows.
I think that was his first name. I think it was Joseph Adolphe.
I think
right.
yeah, I think you're correct.
Yeah.
This person knows a thing or two about short stints. His first of 2 stints as Premier of Quebec lasted 4 days. And after his career in provincial politics, he moved to federal politics where he joined the conservative government of Charles Tupper, which lasted 2 months. He was then defeated in the federal election in 1896 and 1900.
God.
So provincial first, then federal, but not for long.
Not for long. Geez. I don't know. Is it Mousseau?
It is not Mousseau. Sorry. Third clue. An electoral district on the south shore of Montreal bears this person's name to this day. Among prominent past MNAs of this riding, René Lévesque, Pauline Marois, currently Lionel Carman.
Okay, it was Taillon.
Louis-Olivier Taillon is the right answer.
That name did not
get a point.
That name did not rattle around in my head at all for the other ones. I was never going to get it. Whew. Okay, so I can still get silver if I get on the first.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Eek.
It's a tougher one, huh? Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
these are tough. Anyway, I got the first one on the first one. That was good.
Fourth and last person, Eric. First clue. This person was born in 1838 in Kilkhampton, England, before emigrating to Canada in 1846. He began his career in Ontario, unsuccessfully running in the Huron South riding for the Conservative Party in 1872 and 1874. When he finally entered the provincial parliament, it was as an independent conservative because he was in disagreement with the Conservative Party. In 1879, this person moved to Manitoba.
Okay. 1879 moves to Manitoba. He's English. Oh, God.
There are many clues in there.
Yeah. And okay, so he was born in 1838, you said. So is he a provincial politician in the 80s? Who is the... was it Thomas Greenway?
It absolutely is Thomas Greenway. Wow! Holy crap! Eric! What a pull! Wow.
I'll take that. I'll get a silver. That was a hard fought silver.
That was wow. 7 points. You get the silver. Let me read the clues for those who don't know Thomas Greenway because he also has a very interesting story. So this person moved to Manitoba, having acquired a large tract of land in the province's southwestern corner. He was the founder of Crystal City, Manitoba. Later that year, he ran unopposed in the running of Moncton for the Manitoba legislature and eventually formed an opposition group known as the Provincial Rights Party, which eventually morphed into the Manitoba Liberal Party. Third clue was, in 1888, this person led the Manitoba Liberals to a majority victory and won 2 more majorities in 1892 and 1896 before getting defeated in 1899. So, Liberal Premier of Manitoba. But started his political career, in Ontario. Wow.
He ended up causing some trouble for Wilfrid Laurier over the Manitoba Schools questions.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did.
Issue in the 1896.
He didn't seem to like francophones much, according to his bio. So it's a long time ago. It's okay. So
okay. Wow.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
That was fun.
Jeez.
I missed that.
You still have you have silver on the quiz where all the people were born in the 1800s. That's insane. Anyway.
I'll take it.
Take it.
All right. Well, triumphant return of the quiz, and we will now return to the number of the week. Let me do one. I'm going to pull one from a poll we didn't talk about.
Okay.
So my number will be minus 59. So the Innovative Research Group put out a poll about BC politics, and one of the interesting things they actually do federally and provincially is that they poll reactions to budgets. And because they've been doing it for so long, they can kind of compare over time. So minus 59 was the net satisfaction for David Eby's provincial budget that just came out. 17% said they were satisfied by it. 76% said they were unsatisfied by it. Minus 59 is the worst result for a BC budget since 2010. Now, the 2010 budget was Gordon Campbell's budget where he implemented HST. And by the end of the year, Gordon Campbell was out as premier because of turmoil within his party. His approval ratings dropped to single digits in 2010. So that seems like a bad precedent for David Eby. They got some work to do. They were behind in this poll by 11 points behind the Conservatives. So I don't think this budget went over very well. And now they have to hope that they can hold on to the next election, I guess. But minus 59, a very bad result for a budget.
Seriously, huh? Choose wisely, BC Conservatives, because you have a real shot here if you choose wisely. But my number of the week, very good, Eric. My number of the week is from the Abacus poll in Alberta. Of course, we talked to, I think we mentioned, but the voting intentions were out 49% UCP, 36% Liberal, 9% for the Alberta Liberals. Now, we talked about this, but I have to reiterate. Dear pollsters, stop putting the Alberta Liberals as a provincial party in your poll. You're skewing everything. Okay, we know it's brand confusion. And to his defense, David Coletto, CEO of Abacus Data, did mention that it was probably crossover from the Liberals. Then don't prompt the Alberta Liberals. They did not have anywhere close to a full slate in the last provincial election
or something.
It was a ridiculously low amount. Like, it's not. They're done. They are not a serious party in Alberta. And so when you put it there, you ruin the entire poll. Like, because that 9% for Liberals, where would it go? Perhaps the UCP would get a bit of it, but most of it we think would go to the NDP, and then suddenly it's tied. But we don't know that because you prompt a party that doesn't exist really. Or it exists, but it's marginal. So that's the thing. I'm doing I'm updating projections in Alberta, but you have to deal with these polls that are skewed because they don't adjust to local dynamics. Like, come on. And it's not just Abacus, by the way. Not the Harper and Abacus. They all do it.
Everybody does it, yeah.
Yeah, stop doing that. Anyway, that's my number of the week. 9%
I like the
for
approach
Alberta
that the
Liberals.
Angus Reid Institute does, at least with its federal polls. I don't know if they do it provincially, but they'll have an other option for, like, they'll have the major parties, so like the parties that have seats, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they'll have an other, and if you choose other, then it follows up with, okay, you can choose from these parties. I think that is probably the better way to do it for these ones because, I'm sure there were some Albertans who say, oh yeah, I'd vote for a provincial Liberal party if it's on the ballot. Odds are it won't be on the ballot.
That's the thing.
But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe with the Liberals surging in support in Alberta, they'll actually get their get themselves off the mat and become a serious party again.
Eric, you don't believe that.
All right. Well, that'll be it for this week's episode. Jam-packed episode, quiz, floor crossers, by-elections. Oh my God, things are fun. So if you want to support the podcast, you can go to thenumberspod.ca. You get early and ad-free access to the episodes, access to Discord, access to our bonus episodes.
That's right.
And last week we did a mailbag. So if you want to do that, again, thenumberspod.ca. We appreciate your support. And Philip, I appreciate you, and hope you have a nice weekend, and maybe the weather will improve, and we'll chat next week.
Merci beaucoup, Eric. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great weekend.